Morning everybody, Silverbolt here, back from the Transformers review. Going to be doing, as per the title screen obviously, Armada BLURR. I don't believe this, it's bloody broad daylight, the sun's streaming in the window and it's still blurry. Oh well, never mind. Yes, no video last week. I have currently changed jobs, hence the suit, and I've left the NHS and I am back working as a manager in a call centre. So, at least I'm not on the phones. Okay, but yes, today we're doing Armada BLURR. Thought I'd do Armada BLURR, A, because, well, he's a pretty cool character, and B, because I haven't done any of the Armada range yet. Okay, BLURR first shows up in Armada, and Armada has this thing that it did, and to a lesser extent Cybertron, Energon and Cybertron did it as well, was that these characters first show up, and it really is noticeable with Jetfire. Now these characters first show up and they're suddenly uber hard. You know, nobody can beat them. You know, nobody knows what the hell's going on with them. They're just tough. And BLURR's like that, you know. BLURR, he's cool, he's suave, he makes Chuck Norris wet himself. Actually, no. Nobody makes Chuck Norris wet himself. Don't be silly. That's just silly. He makes Jean-Claude Van Damme wet himself. And he's this, you know, this sharpshooter who, you know, who can shoot thrust out of the air with a single blast. I think it was thrust he shot out of the air in the first episode. Yes, something like that. And one of the weird things with BLURR is that his bio is very true to his actual character, unlike the G1 namesake, who of course is very Armada BLURR, Silverbolt in Japan incidentally, is, well, he's hard. And he's tough as nails, and he's a really good shot, and he's described as this, and he comes across this very aloof character. Hotshot actually calls him antisocial at one point, and it's because, you know, he's very, I'm too good for this, I'm just too good kind of job. You know, Jetfire comes across as arrogant, BLURR comes across as a tit. And that, of course, as the series progresses with Armada, that of course does level down a bit when him and Hotshot become very good friends. Happens an awful lot after he gets his Minicon partner Incinerator. There you go, lights a little better there. It does happen an awful lot once he's got his Minicon partner Incinerator. And he becomes a very valued member of the Autobot team. But as the series goes on, his skills decrease until he's just another one who's standing behind a boulder shooting the crap out of stuff without actually doing an awful lot of damage. You know, and it happens to a lot of them. You know, it happens to Scavenger as well. They get retired into the background. Okay, that's BLURR. Other thing I mentioned about BLURR as well is that he is adored by Sideswipe, the rookie Sideswipe, who BLURR at one point saves Sideswipe's life, and Sideswipe then gets a bit of a hero complex as far as BLURR is concerned. BLURR incidentally doesn't have a clue who this guy is, which is another streak of his arrogance. You know, Sideswipe wasn't important enough for him to remember. Okay, now onto the toy range itself, or the toy itself. Armada BLURR. The Armada toy range is cack for the most part. It really is horrible for the most part. BLURR, at least in my opinion, is slightly more bit of an exception to that rule. It's not quite as crap as the others. Okay, BLURR does of course come with a Minicon. In the Cybertron range, the Minicons were done away with to get put in for the Cyber Key range. But in the Armada range, they all have a gimmick, and so you transform Incinerator. The Minicons do look an awful lot like the old Micromaster range, but nowhere near as good. So I'm just going to put that in there, and let's see if I can do this. There we go, I think that's transformed properly. Looks about right anyway. So you get Incinerator, and you insert him. I'm trying not to make a bad joke about sticking things in rear ends, and you wiggle it around until it snaps into place, and it does that. Very tracks, very, to me, an almost Star Warsy thing. You know, it's something you'd expect to see on Coruscant. One of the few Autobots that is capable of flight in this mode, BLURR is, and I think that's quite nifty. Okay, transforming you into robot mode. Fiddly as hell until you get the hang of it, because of the way the arms are situated. And I'm not going to be able to do it now, of course. I've just lost one of his guns. That might actually be a benefit to me. Right, that's what I'm doing wrong. As I said, fiddly as hell. And there you have, roughly transformed BLURR in robot mode. Can you get in there? Yes, you can. As I said, I think BLURR is probably one of the nicest in the Armada range, because the Armada range really can be quite pants. Armada Prime is a classic example of just how bad the Armada range can be, because it's horrible. And Armada Prime really is butt ugly. I think Scavenger's another one that's kind of crap. But I don't have many of the Armada range for precisely that reason. They're hideous and they're nasty, and there we go. At least that's just my opinion. I mean, they've certainly got the worst toys of all three of the Unicron trilogy, or the American Unicron trilogy. Okay, BLURR in robot mode. You know, nice colours. Nice colours. They actually complement each. Ooh, I went into the colours. Oh shit. Oh well, never mind. Sorry, I'm trying to get around the whole. You know, oh, I've got to leave for work in 45 minutes. Because of course my hours have changed. One of the things I'm going to say as well is he's got horrible hands. Looks like a GoBot. These hands, they're just these painted on fingers with grooves and cuts and things like that. And his helmet, he looks like something out of VR Riders, VR Troopers. His helmet's a little weird. And this stupid back panel that he doesn't. Of course, he doesn't stand up. No, he doesn't stand up. You've got to prop him against something. He's standing up. Doesn't stand up. See? Doesn't stand up. Telling you, doesn't stand up. But yes, he does topple backwards quite quickly, unless I've mistakenly done something wrong. I don't think I have, though. No, well, never mind. I'm not too fussed about it. As I said, one of the nicer Armada toys. Not too bad. And I believe that Armada BLURR has been repainted with a very cool lightning scheme for the Classics range, and I think he's been redone as Wheeljack. Whether he's got a new head sculpt, I don't know. I think his guns are new, and of course he won't have a Minicon partner, but whether he's going to have a new head sculpt, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but yes, I'll probably be picking that one up. I think because I love the Classics range and I want them all, even though it does mean I've got to buy the repainted Soundwave and I've got to buy the repainted Quick Mix. Is it Quick Mix from Cybertron? They've repainted as some random character. But anyway, yes, that's Armada BLURR done. Incinerator, the toy itself. The Minicons weren't to be honest, the Minicons in some regards are actually better than the other ones. Though they are a little weird. It's like they got lazy. You know, how are we gonna have him having a bonnet? I know what we'll do. We'll just make it part of his hand. No, he doesn't actually have a hand. He has a, I suppose you could say, a deformity, because that's about all he's got. But yes, the Minicon's nowhere near as good as the Micromasters. Nowhere near as good. But yes, okay, that's me done for now. I'm going to try and upload this. Hopefully this uploads before I have to leave. But for now, this is Silverbolt with Armada BLURR, signing off, saying au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen.